Hi guys, it's Irene again, and I hope you have been well. Today I'd like for us to look at something that I've never thought about, but I was reading through Joshua and Judges, and it's very interesting how there's a generation that, kind of lazed on their responsibility, and what our responsibility is as people who know God, what our responsibility is to the next generation. So welcome for today's devotional. So I'm going to read from Joshua. This is 24, verse 31. It says, Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who had outlived Joshua, who had known all the works of the Lord which he had done for Israel. And then in Judges chapter 2, it says, verse 10, when all the generations that had been gathered to their fathers, another generation arose after them who did not know the Lord, nor the work which he had done for Israel. And our last scripture is in Proverbs 22:6, which is very famous. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So we see Joshua, who was the person that took on from Moses. And we know that he walked with Moses. He got to know the Lord. He was a part of the 2 spies that brought back a good report, regardless of the fact that the other 10 brought back a report that, shook the hearts of the people of Israel. And so Joshua, in all that he did, made sure that the elders, that his generation and the people that were in line with that generation knew God, knew what he had done, even though they were not around when he had done some things. When Moses passed it down, Joshua also passed it down. But we see in Judges that after that whole generation had been wiped away, there arose another generation that knew nothing about God. And we saw in another chapter in Judges 17 and 18 that they had no king. Everyone did as they wished. But how come there was a generation that knew nothing about God? And this generation then started to worship the gods of the other tribes that were there, or the other nations that were in that land, and they went astray. But what is our responsibility then to ourselves, our children, and the generations that come after that, or even the people in this generation that know nothing about God? If we know God, what are we doing to make sure that the next person, if I'm not here today, the next person will be able to teach their other generations, or the people that do not know God, about God, so that we live in a world that knows about the God of creation, the God of the universe, the God of the world, the God who rescues, the God who does all these things, and not just, hearing stories or rumors about our God. We heard about a God who does things, but we do not know it. How come there was a generation that had no knowledge of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? And I think for me, it's a reflection of right now, when I look around my circles, when I look at the people that I know in my family, among my friends, in my spheres of influence, do they know about the God that I know? Do they know him? Have they given their lives to him? I know that is a personal decision, but have I actually given them the opportunity to live out that purpose, to seek out God for themselves? And whose responsibility is it anyway? Is it your responsibility, or is it the responsibility of angels or pastors or whoever it is to tell people about God and teach them in a way that will, draw them to God? I love what Proverbs 22:6 says. Train up a child, train them up. For those of you that are parents, and you might not even have biological children, but you have children in your care. We have children's cells and children's church, children in your communities, in neighborhoods, in your village, wherever, in your household. The Bible is saying, train up a child in the way that he should go. And how are we training up our children? Are we leaving the children to society, to culture, to TV, to radio, to the trends and fashion that is coming and going? Or are we intentionally telling them that God is the Lord of our lives and he should be God over their lives as well? Or are we waiting to have a generation that has no sense of direction, that is lost and gone, that will do every immoral thing, And we are seeing a lot of immorality erupting all around us in the world, in Uganda, in Africa. And that is because, for me, I think it is because there is a generation that knew God, and then in the middle, we were left to schools, we were left to society, we were left to television, and we had to learn things our own way. But yet, we were still able to get the opportunity to encounter God, to hear his word. And this is through people that worked tirelessly, that devoted themselves to preaching the gospel, crusades in community, door-to-door preaching. And they were like, I won't let the next generation go down go down in history books as a generation that, forsook the Lord. I will not let that happen, not on my watch. And I think for me, it's just a commitment I made through whatever stream I have, through whatever opportunity I have. It might be the borderman at home, it might be the neighbor, it might be a child, it might be a total stranger that also wants to know about God, but how will they know if they've never had? How will they hear unless we go and tell them about God? So I pray that today it will be a wake-up call for us to not let a generation go down in history as one that had no sense of direction, one that went to destruction and to Hades because we were too comfortable, or we do not know how to do, preaching or reaching out, but that will be a generation that stands and calls out people back to the light of God. So I pray this is an encouragement for you to step out and do that which God has called you to bring glory to his name and to bring people back to him. Thank you.